Edible Valley Podcast, episode 205.
On this episode, we're talking food trends for 2022. Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our edible valley. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I hope you're having a great day. This is the Edible Valley Podcast, and it is so good to be with you right now. Thank you for joining us. My name is William. I'm the producer.
I am Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And I am Darren Howlett.
Come on, Darren.
This is your challenge.
And I am Darren, unprepared today.
So unprepared. I actually kind of like this. I like it when we do these every once in a while where we just sort of everything.
You've got a proper sweat on though right now. What's your position today?
My position?
Yeah, you've got a different position each week.
I don't know. I don't know. Call me unprepared. I'm Darren Howlett. Unprepared.
That could be like your life memoir. I like it.
Or at least,
we
should have
decided.
a t-shirt.
My memoirs are going to be called Losing It.
Right.
And it's about me losing relationships, losing businesses.
Oh, yeah.
Losing weight.
Go on, mention the bar.
Losing mental health. Darren Howlett, losing it. Right. Look for it.
And it's a picture of you with the shirt, sleeves rolled up, and you're shrugging.
Yeah. So there we go.
Sounds a little depressing.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to ask, what would your life memoir be? I'm going to put that out to our wonderful listeners. Sure. What would your life memoir name be? I'd really be interested to know what that book would be called.
Same here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Brilliant.
Wish I'd said no.
Nope.
Why do I always say yes? That's my problem.
So we haven't done a food trends one for it's been a couple of years. I remember we did a few.
Well, I got to go where this came from. So the other day I picked up this book in my catalog of books, of recipe books and menu books.
Yeah.
And I found this Vancouver gastronomique.
Yes.
And it's a menu guide to the finer restaurants in Vancouver. And I believe it is era 1979.
Yeah.
And
so it looks it.
It looks it's
old.
Beautiful. I love this book because it's so entertaining to see what people were doing. And there's lots of escargots
right,
and beef stroganoff.
I know you said everything had scampi on it.
There's lots of scampi's on there.
Prawn cocktail.
And then you're like, a lobster is like $9.95. So you're like,
right, wow.
Lobster dinner with steak and everything. And it was super interesting. And I went through it the other night and I just had a laugh and I really enjoyed it.
Right.
And then I picked up my magazine that I get of the food trends.
Yeah.
Or sorry, what's it called? Food service.
Right.
And I was just flipping through it and I was like, they've got the trends for 2020, the fresh start, because you know what, the last few years have kind of been a bust, right? Like restaurants have been struggling. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what, and I haven't done a survey. I usually do a survey every year about the best food trends and what's going on. And anyways, I saw this and I was like, we should talk about some of these things because it's quite interesting.
For sure.
And it's stuff that I've been doing and it's stuff that a lot of restaurants have been doing, and I'm just kind of interested to see your guys' take on all of that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I can't wait. These
haven't
are
really
really
prepped at all, so I'm eager to sort of hear you unleash them and get a bit of a off-the-cuff idea of what's going on.
All right, this is how we're going to do this. All right, so there's 5 trends for 2022, and you're just going to give me a number, Darren, and I'll say the trend. And we're off.
There's more than 5, man. There's another page.
Gosh, is that another? Oh my God. Okay. Well,
8.
You're going 8.
I'm going 8.
He's going 8.
You know why? Because that's the name of my business.
Oh, right. Dun.
8.
Okay.
8 catering.
8 catering. All right, 8. Let's spin the wheel. Number 8, alternative proteins and lab-grown food.
This makes me go blah.
I'm not. I honestly, I mean, as far as what I've seen or tasted or what have you, I haven't really encountered any of it. I don't know. I know enough about it to support the idea of it, but I've yet to see any of it or any of it used in practice. So I don't know if I'm really qualified to say anything other than bring it on. I'm interested. But
well, it's an interesting technique because we're starting to grow proteins in a laboratory setting. So we're getting rid of animal slaughter and looking for new food experiences for us.
I mean, look at me. I'm not afraid to try anything. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. See what it tastes like, see how it cooks, how it performs. I'm optimistically open to it, but
okay. You know. So, do you know about this, John?
Yeah.
I know a little bit about this. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a picture here in the magazine, and it's a picture of what you just look at and say it looks like mincemeat. Probably about 80%. There's bits of fat there, and you just think that's mincemeat. But then on here it says soy is the most common ingredient used as an alternative protein product. So is this meat that's being grown without the violence of slaughter, or is this?
I think there's a little bit of both.
I think it's a bit of
going
both.
on.
I think they have to mix it to make it palatable. Like, I think if you just did the straight lab-grown tissue, I can't imagine that would be flavorful at all.
Yeah, and it's also, creating alternative proteins. So there definitely is the meatless burgers and all that, I would say, falls under that thing. So and that's a big thing. Like, we're looking at the future of our sustainable food system. And
and that's what I say. Like, I'm all for it. Like, let's figure this out. If this is the route, cool. But I have yet to try it, so I don't even know.
I mean, we look at the world's populations growing and growing and growing, and right now we should have had famine years ago, but somehow we've managed to
skirt it.
So now it's and this is part of that process.
It almost seems too good to be true, though. I mean, the idea of meat. I mean, if you speak to almost every vegan, I mean, no, I shouldn't even say this, but if you took a good amount of vegan people and trace back the reason why they're vegan, if you could take out any creature suffering at all,
absolutely.
But you sort of know, and that's great. That's I really respect that. I
absolutely
really do.
So do I.
But you sort of know in your heart that vegans aren't going to eat this,
right?
And I wonder why. I wonder why.
I think it's because it's still flesh. You know, like it's just they may have, a vegan person may have made that choice that they didn't want to harm any animal, but then like that's just sort of the entryway, and then you get into the fact that you're just not going to eat flesh, and that's still flesh.
Yeah. Right. I like we started off with a thing that I probably know the least about.
No, I know. We don't have to stay with this one too long.
Spin the wheel for John.
Spin the wheel. Woo.
All right, well, you need a number before you spin.
I want to start out number 1.
Number 1, right. Ring, din, 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 din. Okay, so number 1 is, this is great. You know exactly what you're doing, Mr. John. Microgreens.
Whereas Darren said to me the other day, it's like, I think we put microgreens on too many things.
I do. I think at work right now we rely too much on microgreens to garnish. I think that we could do variety is the spice of life, and I just feel
this is a whole episode, right, battle of the microgreens.
I love microgreens.
So
love them.
So I if I have mentioned it, I work for 98.9 Jet FM.
Right,
yes.
And last week, as part of my job to talk about events and things that are going on, I focused on what you can get in terms of local produce now in early March, or as then late February. And microgreens were one of the very few things that you can have now, that you can grow now. You've got the potatoes, the cabbage, and all those really earthy things. But microgreens are available now, which is great.
They're year-round, and they're super flavorful, and there's different flavors, right? Like, and that's the interesting. I think that's where microgreens are going to stand up, is that you can add different flavors to stuff, as well as, there's a bit of health benefit and stuff like that. But I like the little bit of, you can add a little bit of spice to something and some crunch, and honestly, on top of food, it looks beautiful. So
it does. It dainty.
Yeah, and you can include it into almost any part of a food. And they hold up to a bit of heat sometimes too, which is a bit of an interesting but even me, I'm just not even just microgreens, but sprouts and
Yeah, I'm big on sprouts,
and especially since we've got very big resource of it in this community. With we have Eat More Sprouts, which are I buy their microgreens all the time, as well as our good friends.
Who you're talking
You
about?
totally
Island of Eden Farms.
Island of Eden.
There we go.
God.
Hello, Alan. Good to see you, mates.
Which I want to bring Alan back on because he's such a great guy. And
Yeah.
he's
He
really
is
got
great.
into the thing. And he was like, it's responsible growing too, right? You can do this. It's hydroponic grown.
Right.
They can be in sustained areas. You get a lot of produce for a little bit of effort into it.
That's right. And I think I said that too, actually, when we last talked about Eat More. So many of my friends have worked there over the years.
Yeah.
You get that very small sort of thumbprint of an area, and you grow in stacks, and it's constant, every few days you're just growing a few, you know what I mean? You're harvesting every few days.
Oh,
so
totally.
yeah, I mean there's great carbon footprint on it, I guess.
Perfect.
Do you think this is going to keep on growing, in terms of restaurants? Is this going to be something that everyone is hearing about this year?
I think so. I don't know if I think you're going to see it on a lot more menus. You're going to see on top of burgers. You're going to see it on top of
Right.
It's just a nice product.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that really took a foothold here years ago. We've all been using microgreens for a long time, but as far as an industry trend, I guess, it's just becoming more available.
I got a great story for you.
Sure.
So I did that Mount Washington, what was it, food festival years ago. And so I ordered all the food through Mount Washington. And I think I wrote down 2 pounds of microgreens, and it was miscommunicated. And I think they bought 20 pounds of microgreens.
Oh, and it weighs nothing.
So it was literally a pallet of microgreens.
Oh my God.
And I used a pound for 100 people. So
oh my God.
it was just a garnish. I used it actually on top of a pasta. I made a white wine clam sauce on fresh linguine. And then I just garnished it with a little bit of that, and it was
19
the chef looked at me and he's like, what am I going to do? I'm like, everything is going on everything. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pick another one?
Yep.
Yeah, go on. You're spinning the wheel this time.
Oh, ring-a-ding-ding-ding. There you go. Number 7, to go with my trend of naming my businesses after numbers.
Okay, number 7, meal kits.
Meal kits.
Meal kits.
Oh, this is totally in Darren's plan.
Yeah, it is. And it absolutely is. This is something I was about to... this is an area I was about to jump into before... Well, I don't want to give anything away, but a big project has come down the pike, and we got to see that through. If
Come down the pike.
Yeah.
Pipe.
Did I say pike?
You said pike.
Oh, my apologies.
What kind of pike?
What kind of pike?
It was the perch. No. Anyways. So big thing. Got to see that through. So any expansion for my catering thing is sort of on hold. But that was what I was about to break into next. Was meal kits. Doing at-home meal kits, some almost fully prepared, some barely even prepared. Just seeing I watch a bit of YouTube, and it seems like every second or third YouTube video is sponsored by another one of these meal kits programs.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the main brand HelloFresh, which is seems to be absolutely everywhere at the moment. So what do you think about meal kits? Where's that going to go?
So we're not sponsored by HelloFresh, obviously, but the one thing I dislike about them is there's just a lot of not food waste, but everything is packaged in a couple of layers of plastic, and I just don't see that as being a better alternative. I like the idea that it's pre-portioned and full instructions and everything you need is right there. I think that's brilliant. But because a lot of people can get overwhelmed with a recipe and it's like, oh my God, I need 20 ingredients. But if they're all in front of you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to counter that you're saying it may be less wasteful, actually, even though the packaging comes with a lot more in there. But, I mean, here's the problem when you go into a grocery store and you go to make some recipe and you're like, you need a head of celery, you need a head of lettuce, you need,
Right.
you have to buy.
You're talking about things that don't come in packages right now.
Exactly. Well, you don't. You're talking about raw products. So,
Sure.
but by the time you buy all that stuff, even to think about making a sandwich, right? Like you got to buy a full loaf of bread.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you got 12 pieces of bread.
Right.
And you're making one sandwich.
Right.
And so with these programs, they give you 2 pieces of bread.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
there's less waste in it. You get a full meal. It's balanced. And then you aren't making 12 other sandwiches, as you watch TV.
And there's less food waste, but I think there's more packaging waste, personally. Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
But meal kits in general, I think it's brilliant in that I think that it's taking a lot of people that I know people across the spectrum. I know a lot of people in a lot of economic ranges and a lot of backgrounds. By and large, the majority of people I find are reluctant to cook at home. I've found, and sort of a disappointing number, not everybody, but a disappointing amount. And I think that this helps that. I think this
Absolutely
gets people cooking again.
It's definitely a thing. I think it will remain a thing.
Yeah.
It's actually very good in the health and fitness realm because you essentially order what you want to order, and that's it. That's your food. You can't.
That makes perfect sense. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and then it's portioned. I was actually, I'm not having the best time with fitness at the moment, and I looked at this as a possible way of limiting the options for being able to get the wrong things.
Right.
Doubling the portions of food at will. Well, you can't. It's there. It's portioned out. But the expense, it is so expensive.
Yeah.
You are spending a lot per pound, for example, more than you would if you just got it down the superstore.
Right.
So it is half of one, half a dozen of one, 6 of the other,
And a pike of the other.
Pike of the other.
And here goes the spin. Let's go 3.
Number 3, he says. All right, let's go. I love being the host. It's a strange feeling of importance, even though I'm probably the least important. Social media plating.
Wait, I just got to get a selfie of us here. There we
What?
go.
What?
Oh, what?
Let's define.
Oh, there we go.
So define that. I mean, as a food trend.
You're going to test my reading here.
A little bit.
Sharing pictures of restaurant food on social media is certainly one trend that isn't going away. Instagram is among the top factors for 34% of Canadians aged 18 to 34 when selecting a new restaurant to try. I can't believe what I've just heard myself say. I wouldn't even be in a million years what I'd consider.
Yeah. How is it gonna look on Instagram? That's your choice. That's what makes you choose where you're going. That's amazing to me. I mean, there's no denying that people are taking pictures of their food, absolutely, and posting them, absolutely. But as a contributing factor to make the choice of where to go, that blows me away.
Yeah, it's gone full circle, isn't it?
Sorry. Just getting this right. #podcasting. What are we talking about? Oh,
It's got a picture of me. That's not what you ordered. No, you see, if I ever get round to taking a picture of my food, it has always got a bite out of it because that's how greedy I am.
Am I allowed to say how much I hate it?
Really, you hate it?
Just
shoot.
Can I say something? And I truly don't believe that this is undermining anybody or saying something, whatever. Sandra, our old boss, your current boss.
Love her.
Absolutely adore her. Her and I went for a bite once, and truthfully, it was the first time I'd ever taken a picture of my food, and she was not having it.
Really?
We were at the Kingfisher having a bite to eat, and she was like, Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
That's funny because she's always taking pictures
I know,
of food
and that's why
for the
that's
social media.
And I was honestly impressed with what I saw. I'm like, I wanted to copy the presentation of the dish. I wasn't posting it anywhere. Yeah. I just I need a picture of that because I want to emulate that at home. Wow. But then, she was not having it. Anyways, that to this day, I think that was one of the only times I've taken a picture of when I'm out dining. And yeah.
And Sandra's a listener, by the way. Oh. She was talking to me the other day, and she listens.
Love you, Sandra.
Oh, that woman! Honestly,
I'm not hanging her out to dry. I'm just saying that she definitely scared me away from ever posting pictures of food again.
It's an honor to be mentioned.
Well, I got to go back to that friend of yours that you used to that I didn't believe when you were like, that took the world's worst food photos.
Oh, you're talking about Gary. Gary, a friend of mine that passed away a few years ago. But yeah, Gary intentionally would go to a restaurant and take the worst possible picture of food he could. Super, like, horrible lighting, super close up, so it just looked disgusting, and then he would post that, and he got a kick out of that.
This could be a new segment. Darren speaks ill of the dead.
No, I adore Gary.
I didn't want to like bash him but I was like, Darren was telling me about these food photos, and I'm like,
they're just awful.
It always bugs me when someone takes a picture from the wrong side of a dish or like upside down, and you're just like, oh, like I presented it this way, and then you get the shot from the other side, and you're like, oh, and it just sometimes it hurts when someone eats half of it and then takes a picture of it, and you're like, oh, well, that's not how I wanted it. But I saw you were like, yeah, these are bad. And I'm like, they can't be that bad. Like, no one's that bad. And then I saw him, I was like, wow, that is impressive.
This is somebody that's gone to great lengths and effort to take the worst possible photo.
Nothing is centered. Nothing.
But we're talking about it.
Exactly.
The person who takes the best food photos.
Yeah,
Nobody.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
I'm gonna do one this time.
Yes, sure. Yeah. Let's okay.
Right, number 9.
Oh,
experimental dining.
Oh,
yeah.
What's experimental dining?
Experimental dining is like taking
really just experimental again.
Yeah, I just want to do it's taking food and putting a twist on it, right? Like stepping out of the comfort zone. So taking a traditional dish, and then just doing bizarreness to it. So,
like,
you could do something like I was watching a show the other day. It was do a meal 3 ways, and it was because I was doing about eggs Benedict. Yeah. And they did traditional eggs Benedict, and then they did experimental eggs Benedict. So experimental eggs Benedict was with a little I'm going to get this wrong, but it was like they made a dessert eggs Benedict.
Oh.
So that was the experiment on it, right? And so they took a nice little foam cake. Yeah. And then they made sabayon. Yeah. And then I forget what they did for the bacon now, but then they sous vide'd an egg yolk, and so the egg yolk was on top of the cake.
Oh, interesting.
And then with a little bit of the sabayon on the side. And so it's taking your normal food and just...
So it's sort of one step further than, say, a deconstruction of an item. It's sort of reconstructing it in a totally new way.
Yeah, and just playing with food. Like
interesting.
It's more about it may not. It's probably going to be a smaller portion, but it's just doing it, and it's an experience of sampling food and experimenting.
Yeah, you see, this could be quite interesting because there are a lot of people that are set in their ways. I'm one of them. Fish and chips, burger. Those are the 2 things I get. Maybe a pot pie if there's one on the menu. Yeah. If someone offered something else, I'd say no. But if someone said, do you want to reimagined fish and chips? Oh, definitely. That's interesting. Interesting. It's the same components, but
it's going out to dine and experience things in a different way, and just it gives chefs the ability to just be super creative.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with it, but
it's kind of trendy, and it's... Oh, that's why we're talking about it. Trendy.
Sure. Do you want me to guess something, or do you want to slap another one on us?
No, I'm going to add to this one, actually. So there is a part of this that you didn't yet mention. Oh. So it is giving diners an experience beyond what they'd used to. So they're actually doing what they're doing with the food with the dining. They're just looking at, so at the moment a restaurant is, you get seated, you sit down, you order the food off a menu. Like many things you can change there. I went to a restaurant in... Toronto, but we're going to say Toronto properly. Trana. We were in a restaurant in Toronto, and they had amazing shots. That was their thing. You probably heard of. There's one in Vancouver as well, I think. Amazing shots, but it's cheaper if you roll the dice and go with whatever the number lands on.
Oh, wow.
And it's more expensive if you want to pick from the menu. So we all rolled the dice, and we ended up with the most amazing array of different shots. And it's just so much more fun.
Interesting.
Right,
yeah.
Well, and then I was thinking about it, and I didn't say it, but was the dining where it's all in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
They blindfold you.
Totally in the dark.
And so it's just the sense of...
So, removing the sense of or removing sight, so you're just on taste and scent. And, and like your other...
So having that...
I'd love that.
That experiment. That's the future of it, right? So
It's a scam call.
We're
Should we
getting-
put them on?
No.
well, I know we're getting close on time, so we got
Yes, right.
power
Darren.
along.
Should we go back to who has rolled the dice least? Right, Darren.
Ding, 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 ding. 5.
5.
Did we do 5 already?
I don't know. I'm worried
no,
we're
we
going to
haven't
start
done that.
repeating.
Yeah.
No, it's a really good one. I'm really looking forward to this one. Upcycled ingredients.
What is upcycled ingredients?
I had to read this. This is talking about taking those, you know, when you go to the grocery store,
Sure.
and all the beautiful produce and.
I think, yeah, I know where you're going with this. I think I talked about this on an episode maybe last year. Yeah, I'm big on taking the ones that are about to spoil, about to go, and figuring out. It's like that a la minute type, right? Where you're like, this has got 12 hours left before it's still a usable product. Let's test myself, see if I can take this fantastic deal and turn it into amazing food.
And it's also the thing of taking that, you know, not grade A carrot and making it into making something beautiful out of it.
There's also some part of me, and I think it's probably the same as people feel with like certain, you know, when they go to the pet shop or whatever, and you just want to save everything. I look at those veggies and I'm like, that's going in a dumpster if I don't do something with it.
And you know what? In the restaurant world, it's going to save you because you're paying premium for carrots that you're just going to grind up and puree and make into a soup, right?
Right,
so
exactly,
to take those things that are a little bit rougher looking that aren't going to be the grade A at the grocery store, and it's environmentally friendly
Or
and
like when
food waste reduction.
You get a big thing of mushrooms for like 30-50% off. I was going to make that into a mushroom soup anyways. Those were getting chopped and cooked and whatever today anyways. So like, why do they need to be the pretty ones? They don't.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of things at work that are second grade stuff.
Yeah.
For the process that I'm using them for. Like
Absolutely. Okay, well that's cool. I didn't know that it had a name.
Yeah, it is. It has
There
a
we
name.
go.
I think that's awesome.
Do you want to just quickly touch on the ones? Just throw us the names of the ones that we didn't hit yet. What
That's a
did,
good
what did we
idea.
miss?
Meatless menus.
Meatless menus.
That is the trend. That's everywhere.
That's almost 2021.
Fast foods
Yeah,
are, and
Yeah.
so it's.
Were you doing like a veggie patty or a veggie nugget or a veggie whatever? Okay.
So that's definitely it's still a trend. People are still into it, and they're still figuring it out.
I gotta say, talking YouTube, watch Binging with Babish the other day. Sorry, I'm not promoting another show, but whatever. He's got 10 million viewers. So
you got to do
whatever.
it. It's worth it.
But did you see him? He made a veggie burger and he was trying it from scratch, like he was just inventing one.
Right.
But it didn't hold, so he took a bite and it just squished out, like it just oozed. And this was the patty. He's like, yeah, I got to rework this one.
Fail.
Okay, so number 4, immune boosting ingredients.
Oh yeah. Well, doesn't that kind of go with our microgreens or where we're going with that? Like,
Yeah, I think so. And I think it goes, that's like smoothies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all the
Yeah.
stuff you throw into there. The things that are,
superfoods.
and you know what? Like, let's think about it, right? We're at a time when we have to
Yeah, I
worry
mean, that's
about
really-
our health, you know?
yeah, that's
like,
on everybody's mind right now.
yeah,
Sure.
it's like, how do I get all the vitamins? How do I get
Yeah.
all the...
How do I boost my immunity?
So you've got things though like daikon, which we know, but taro root,
Yeah.
lotus root, burdock root.
You just named like half the things in my fridge right now. You know, and yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
Those-
I always
and
have
most of-
daikon and burdock, and I always
They're
have,
all, like in Asian medicine.
I
They're
remember
all...
the first time I had burdock, I didn't know it was literally just a root of wood. And I went to chewing it because it kind of looks like a bit of like carrot as far as like the internal structure of it. And I just went to chew on it, and it's literally like chewing on a stick. I was like, oh, I didn't know I had to process this. I thought I could just go ahead and
No,
nope.
there's work.
You have to
involved.
process it. But anyways, yeah.
I remember a local farmer bringing me burdock, and he's like, would you use this?
Oh,
and
yeah?
I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely try it. And then
Yeah.
he came back to me later. He's like, do you know how much work this is? Because it
Yeah.
grows deep in the ground, so you have to dig it up and
Yeah.
then clean it. And it was nice,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Interesting. Number 6, reinventing comfort food and classic flavors.
Oh, there you go. The book right in front of you there,
Let me see
John.
as I've
There
been
it
flipping
is.
through. So beef stroganoff,
Scampi.
scampies, and
Escargot.
Escargot. Yeah, that was.
But
that
yeah,
was easy.
reinventing. I mean, that's sort of what everybody does all the time. Like it happens every few years. You just sort of look back at old things and you're like, this doesn't hold up to the test of time. What would I need to do to it to bring it up to the today?
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
taking a twist on it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to do fish and chips the traditional way. Like, we can
Yeah.
play with it. It might, like, yeah, you do have to do fish and chips the traditional way.
Noticing I'm glaring at you.
Yeah, I know.
If we want to talk about other friends of mine than the pictures they post, I have a friend, Debush. I don't know if he's listening, but probably not. But he's the one that posts all those things from the 50s.
Right.
All the Jell-O salads and Jell-O foods and Jell-O dinners. And like, I don't think there's any way to bring those up to modern. Like some of them are like 2 packs of Jell-O, a thing of mayonnaise, some pineapple, and a can of corn. And you're like, that's dinner? Like how do you make that happen? But there's no way to really take everything from the past, but I think some of these things, especially what you're looking through there, I'm sure that you could put a little spin and make it contemporary.
And say it's retro. I think it might get away with saying it's a retro dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can think of bringing that.
But I think that's fun, right? To be able to bring back those, like, what was the one I said to someone? It was like, what do I do with halibut? And I said, put pistachios on it. And they're like, that's so 1980s. And I was like, well, I was just reading this book from the 70s. So you asked me, first thing that came to my head.
I'm thinking forward.
But then I was thinking, I'm like, I really like pistachios on my, you know, like I love pistachios. So that's, it was interesting to me.
Okay, and finally, and this seems, I don't agree with this one. I think it's actually quite old now.
Okay.
Sourcing local.
Yeah, that's old.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
2014, 2000.
Well, let me.
As a trend?
As a trend. I think it's a trend that hasn't gone away. And I think it's even becoming more visible now because food prices are out of control.
It's weird for me because for the last 12, 15 years, the only restaurants I've worked in have all done that as, like, that's just expected. Like, that's not even a thing that they hang their hat on. That's just like, of course that's not the hook. Of course we're just doing all sourcing local, you know, like.
But this is a nationwide,
I guess,
magazine. So the fact is that it's going across, and there's a lot of food deserts around, and so that's part of the issue there. Yeah. So,
urban.
So I wonder if they mean more like, some of the chain restaurants sort of skewing towards.
That's definitely. I mean, this magazine goes out to a lot of those places, a lot of chain restaurants, and the reality is in the industry now, it's like the products we used to get no problem and without a second thought are becoming difficult to get, and so we're losing that. And so, hey, connect to your stuff that's as close as possible, and that's how you're gonna have that guarantee, right? So
wow, that was interesting. Okay, well, that was fun.
Yeah,
thanks.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
that was really good. What was your favorite?
Oh, I like the local stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's only because
that was the last one we did. We didn't even pick that one.
No,
that was an also ran. I liked experimental dining. I did. That.
Yeah. I was trying to think which the one we're just talking about it. God,
microgreens.
No, microgreens, because I feel like I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, you've been doing that for a long time.
Actually, you know what? It is. I'm interested in recreating old dishes.
That's your thing right now.
That is my thing right now, and I think I'm just like, let's try that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Now, if you want to be part of the conversation, it would be great to hear from you. Are there any food trends that you've spotted that we've missed out? If you can think of any, send us a message. We'd love to give you a shout out in next week's podcast.
Well, that's what I say. Most of when this stuff hits a magazine, it's no longer a trend anymore.
So that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be 206.
Yeah.
Wow.
206. Oh, I should be paying attention. So I was picking another Facebook thing.
So thank you so much. Have a great week, and we will catch you next week. My name is William. I'm the producer.
I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And I'm Darren Howlett, sitting pretty.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley. Darren, let's do it again. Darren, how are you? How do you feel today?
Fantastic.
You feel remarkably...
Okay, yeah, no, I said I felt remarkably invincible.
I said you must feel invincible. Wow.
I'm bad.
All right.
I'm a bit tired.
No, good man. It's a bit like, what's his face, Michael Scott on The Office.
And this has been an Edible Valley production. Yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
Okay, ready again?